Good evening. I'm Isidoro Nieto, President of Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This regular meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time is now 5:31, and I call this meeting to order. I will now begin the roll call. Mrs. Sustaita?
Present.
Mr. Benjamin Castillo?
Present.
Mr. Eddie Serna?
Present.
And Mr. Mark De Los Santos?
Present.
Dr. Jaime and Coach Guerra are not available yet, but they should be coming in the next few minutes. Okay, let's see. Invocation, Dr. Rivera.
Mr. Elias, intervene.
Would you be so kind to bow your heads and let us pray this evening? Heavenly Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, how great and mighty you are. There is no one like you. Thank you for the gift of life, health, family, friends, strength, and ability to work to provide for our families. We thank you for the blessing of entering a new year, a season of new opportunities, a season to draw closer to you in humility and reverence. Father, as is always our petition, we ask you to continue to bless and grant greater wisdom to our Superintendent, Dr. Richard Rivera, and our board. Lord, may your will be done in our board meetings. Help us to always maintain integrity in what you have left in our care. Help us always to be focused on the betterment of boys and girls in Weslaco ISD. Bless our administrators, staff, and teachers with wisdom, integrity, patience, and the physical and mental strength to begin and finish this second half of the academic year very strong. Above all, bless our students with divine protection, physical and mental health, and providence. May their homes and our classrooms be filled with love and support every day of the year. Keep them all safe and warm during this extreme weather. There is gratitude in our hearts for all that you have done, are doing, and will do in the days to come. May our hearts reflect the spirit of light in darkness, joy in the midst of the storms, peace in our conflicts, and love in our fears. We ask you all this in your precious, glorious, and mighty name of Jesus. And everyone says, amen.
Amen. Number 4, Pledge of Allegiance, Dr. Rivera.
Mr.
Mr.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, would everyone please stand, place their right hand over their heart, and face the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing, right hand over your heart, and face the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Buttermer. We'll continue with the agenda. School Board Recognition Month, January 20th, Dr. Rivera.
Mr. Board President, Dr. Rivera, members of the board, January is School Board Recognition Month, and we want to take the time to acknowledge our board members for their service to our school district. Can we give them a round of applause? Following this year's theme, Leadership for Tomorrow's Texas, we honor our trustees who volunteer countless hours every school year to do what is best for our students on behalf of the community of Weslaco. Our trustees work together toward the success of every student and staff in our district. On behalf of our superintendent, all of our departments and campuses, we present these plaques and gift baskets as tokens of appreciation. We start with recognizing our school board president first, Isidoro Nieto. Mr. Nieto has begun his 10th year of school board service. Checking to see if anybody else is going to be present. We'll come back to him, okay? We'll go to our next trustee who is present, Trustee Marcos de los Santos, having served 5 years of service. Also, 5 years of service, trustee Jacqueline Sustaita. We'll circle back now and has completed 7 years of service of school board, Coach Armando Cuellar. We'll circle back once again, having completed 8 years of service, our board secretary, Dr. Jaime Rodriguez. All right, 5 years of service, trustee Ben Castillo. Let me make a correction on that. 2 years of service for Ben Castillo, giving him a couple more years there. Also would like to recognize trustee who has just begun his tenure as a board member, Coach Eddie Serna. All right. Okay.
Let me just say, at one time I was a principal, superintendent, and now all 7 of my bosses.
How about another round of applause for our board members?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Rivera, for those nice plaques. I think every board member is well deserving, and of course, we appreciate it.
Team of 8.
Team of eight.
Team of 8.
All right, we'll continue. Let the record reflect that Dr. Jaime and Coach Cuellar came in at 5:35. Awards of recognition, Dr. Rivera.
We have none this month,
Okay, we'll continue.
but we'll do them next month.
Can I just say something? Congratulations! There was a lot of UIL events this weekend, but I know one of them because it was all over. There was mariachi this weekend, and all of our mariachis this weekend made it to state. So yay, we're so excited for them. And then there was also cheerleading, I believe, this weekend. And I'm not sure how they did, but I'm sure they did great. I don't know what other events were going on, but congratulations to all the kids.
No, yeah, Mrs. Taita's correct. There was the UIO state championship competition for cheer. And I know that at the end, the results were out of 80 participants. The UIL team that came out of Weslaco High School was placed 30. So they did very well compared.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
we had
they'll be
Jay-
They'll be recognized.
here next month.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, they just said it's recent, I remembered. And JROTC, I believe, also had something going on. So we're looking forward to seeing the kids.
all right. Let's continue with next one, proclamations. Carlos?
Yes, proclamations. Mr. Board President, for proclamations, we recognize our counselors, FCCLA and CTE. So this proclamation is for you. Weslaco Independent School District has a long-standing tradition of excellence and strives to bring together all resources to provide our students and staff with the best opportunities. To that end, Weslaco ISD acknowledges and celebrates initiatives, departments, and organizations that join in our efforts to develop, expand, enrich our learning environment for students, parents, and employees. Therefore, Isidoro Nieto, President of Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim February 2025 as Career and Technical Education Month. We also proclaim February 2025 National School Counseling Week from February 3rd through the 7th, 2025, Family, Career, and Community Leadership Week from February 10th through the 24th, 2025 in Weslaco ISD, and we encourage all citizens to recognize with appreciation our district's commitment to education and helping our children achieve their highest potential. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll continue with public comments. Dr. Rivera or Carlos?
There is one.
Mrs. Diana Garza? Before we begin, Mrs. Garza, you know the procedures, but I'll have to read this before you present. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Act, the Board of Trustees may not deliberate on any comment made by a member of the public on a subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of this meeting. As per the Texas Attorney General, the scope of the board discussion for a subject not part of the meeting agenda is limited only a proposal by a board member to place the subject on a future board agenda. Specific factual information of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board should not deliberate or decide regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of the meeting. Audience participation in a board meeting is limited to the portion of the meeting designated for that purpose. At all other times during a board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board unless recognized by the presiding officer. No public comment presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. Any disruptive behavior by any speaker may result in the speaker's removal from participation in the meeting. Please be mindful of using names or other identifiable information, as there is no immunity from defamatory comments while participating in public comments. Dr. Jaime will keep the time. We'll let you know when it's a minute left. Please introduce yourself and your address.
Diana Garza, 1011 East 10th Street, Mercedes.
Ready, Dr. Jaime? You may
Okay.
begin. Ms.
Good
Garza.
evening, Dr. Rivera, school board trustees, students, staff, and our lovely parents. And thank you for all that you all do. It's School Board Appreciation Month. However, I have the following concerns. At the October board meeting, I made statements using this powerful podium that were repeated verbatim and questioned by one of you at the November meeting, insinuating that my statements are false. You went on and stated the following: there are statements being made, they need to be verified, people need to be held accountable, we're operating at a high level. You asked for a report. Did you get it? I had several pages where I listed examples of everything I had stated. Maybe you can assist me with an allegation that needs to be investigated. One of your family members was demoted several years ago. Salary should have been adjusted after a year, and it wasn't. Is that individual protected by one of you? For several years now, that individual has been getting compensated for a title that he no longer has. We need that to be investigated so that it gets adjusted to what he should be earning. Maybe there could be a payback arrangement or something. At December board meeting, the same board member stated the following, and all comments were directed at me. None of the allegations were true. There were 0 findings. I find it very unethical to be on borrowed seats and have all the evidence in a report and still come out and have the audacity to say there were 0 findings, because that clearly is not the case. Everything that I've stated, I have plenty of backup. I'm not known in this district to be a liar. What is that? One of you stated there are 0 findings. You're operating at a higher level for agenda item 12C. Why is there an action plan for TA if everything is perfect? Moving on to the board member misconduct investigation agenda item from October that I found to be quite negative to be
You have 1 minute,
posted.
ma'am.
You all spent tax dollars paying 2 law firms legal fees to investigate this board member misconduct. And I'm going to read verbatim what one of you has stated in reference to district investigations, accessibility, and facts that you posted on social media. where you are highly encouraging PIR requests. You could be such a valuable resource to our community with facts. If you have any trouble getting PIR requests, please reach out and I will respond immediately. Use PIR to get the findings of the investigations we call for. You own them, you have every right to them, you should know the truth. So with that being said, please assist me in getting a PIR request that I requested in December. We should know the truth about that investigation. You hired 2 law firms, paid community's tax dollars for that investigation. So help me get that PIR report so that, you know what, we own them, as you stated, and we have the right to know the truth. So,
Time's up, Coach.
you know what? Thank you. And like I said, we deserve to know the truth. God
Thank-
bless Weslaco ISD, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Garza. We'll continue with number 9, Lone Star Governance. Dr. Rivera.
Ms. Solano?
Yes, sir. Good evening, members of the board and community, Dr. Rivera. So you have your Lone Star Governance presentation that was sent to you all, and you'll have it up on the screen. So this month, we are going over benchmark 1 results that we took in the late fall semester, November and December. So first, we will focus on the actual LSG goals 3 and goal 4, which hone in on reading and math scores at the 4th and 5th grade level to get students ready for the middle school. Right, so the first slide that you have is looking at our math district results in both 4th and 5th grade. These cells shaded in green are those who have met or surpassed the end of the year target. I remind everyone that when we look at these targets, we're looking at the meets performance plus. So, a big kudos to everyone, because the math shows to be a strength here in 4th and in 5th grade. We are points away. What you see that says G and the percent, that's the goal that we sent for the end of the year. But we are close in those cells that are still not shaded green. But congratulations to the elementary schools for doing a tremendous job with the math instruction there. So action steps that we are taking are listed in the bullets. We'll continue to support our Tier 1 instruction with fidelity and continue to collaborate through PLCs. Our CNI department has incorporated district-wide PLCs where campuses can network. We understand sometimes it's hard to travel with their limited conference time or planning times, right, that are preserved for this PLC time, but now they can do that online by all logging in at the same time and sharing ideas and planning together. So that is math. In 4th and 5th grade, that's goal 3. When we move on to goal 4, we are looking specifically at ELAR. In 4th grade, we have met as a CNI department, we have discussed and continue to discuss scores with the principals. We might reconvene and evaluate if the targets were set too high at the 4th grade. You could see 4th grade has no cells in green. However, we have identified some skills or factors that are hindering to include the constructive response, right? We are going to wait on benchmark 2 results before we come forward to the board with a recommendation. If we need to adjust our targets, we are wanting to collect more data. But in 5th grade, we are happy to see there that 2 of the subpopulation groups, the ECO-DIS and our EBs, have already met or surpassed the end of the year target, which we are extremely proud of. And the other special population groups are close or near the target, the end of the year target. So we are hoping to be right on track to meeting those targets in the reading area of 4th and 5th grade. So with that said, you also then received on the next slide goes over all of the campuses, which campuses have met or surpassed the target or where they're at compared to the end of the year target, right? Those again that are shaded in the green cells have met or surpassed the target. The targets, one of the things that we are going to look at bringing to the board is when we met as an LSG committee, we set district targets. However, we didn't set campus targets, right? And we understand that each campus is unique and its population is unique. So we will be recommending unique targets that overall average out to the overall district target, right? Because our district targets are set at 54, 54, 52, 59, right? So, but we would like to obviously have a unique target for each of the campuses based on their population, and as a district, keep the overall target. So that is your summary, and that slide number 3. And then we also added in the next slide, what we wanted to do is bring you an overall report of how our benchmark 1 scores look when we look at the 3 first domains. Domain 1, Domain 2A, which is growth, and Domain 2B, relative performance, based on their economically disadvantaged population. So we have met with principals in the fall. In December, we had an actual workshop at the PLC. Principals have put together an accountability booklet that they've been acting on with their staff, presented to, and we've actually had very good discussions with them also during their TPES Middle of the Year conferences. So a lot of things are put in place to make sure that when Benchmark 2 results come around, we have addressed some of the areas of opportunities and growth that have been addressed. But overall, at the last column at the right side of your table shows which domain would have been chosen for the highest of the 3. The good thing about the accountability system is it chooses the highest domain where you perform, and the last column shows which one would have been chosen if that were to be the actual STAR test. So that is that on scores. And the last slide that you have on your report is superintendent constraint addressing goal number 5, which is continuing to do T-test activities throughout the year with our campus administration. As we know, T-test is effective instruction that happens in the classroom. So good instructional practices will obviously increase our student achievement. So we continue doing that through those activities listed in the slide.
Thank you, Mrs. Solano. Now,
Yes.
I will ask my fellow board members, see if they have any questions. I'll start with Mrs. Sustaita.
Thank you, Mr. Nieto. Yes, I do have a couple. I know the schools, they weren't broken down at first, and I did send Dr. Rivera an email, and I said, can I have each school
Yes.
broken down? And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to see just how everybody, I know you say everybody's unique, they have their own different demographics, but I wanted to see, who's doing something that's working, and maybe others who are struggling with their students can get ideas from them, right? And I know I've called out Gonzalez Elementary before. Ms. Garcia came up here and kind of told us what she was doing. And right now when I'm looking again at the scores, I see Gonzalez Elementary and I see green all the way across with math and reading 4th and 5th grade. So that's awesome. And that's why I asked for this, because I'm just thinking, what are they doing that can help other schools also? So that's the reason why we asked, or why I asked for this for each school. But seeing the data broken down, and I know that you said meets versus approaches,
Right.
It's different. So can you tell me, when we do get the star ratings at the end of the year, or the next year, whenever we get them, what will TEA, or what will they, they're not looking at approaches, right? They're looking at meets, is that correct?
So in domain 1, Ms. Sustaita, they add up the approaches, the meets, and the master's level and divide it by 3 performance level to get your actual domain 1 score. So yes, we do look at the approaches. They do count. However, as a district for HB3, the goal was to see how much of our population and percentage-wise is ready for a college-ready experience. That's really what the meets plus level, performance level, is defined as in the state, right?
Okay.
Those who are college
There's
ready.
like an algorithm to all this, right? That's
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm not really understanding,
Yeah.
but thank you for explaining that. So it does have to do with our rating approaches.
Yes,
and-
most definitely.
Okay. Another question. Let me see, I wrote them down here. You said you're going to be collecting new data
Yes.
later on. This is just the benchmark 1, and then the benchmark is done by us, by the district, is that correct? By somebody here?
Yes, so we use a lot of what's already a release test, which is a former or previous STAR test. We did have to add some of our other local assessments or constructive response questions to make up an entire benchmark 1. Right, to be designed to look exactly like the blueprint, right, as it's only assessing instruction that's been taught in the fall semester. But most of it came from a previous STAR exam.
Okay, because I was
Yes.
is this reliable? Is it valid?
Yes,
Well, yes, it
most
is.
definitely.
It's based off of an old previous, okay. And then another thing that I was talking earlier to Mr. Nieto about this, we were going kind of over the superintendent's report. But I'll just bring it up here because I was talking to some teachers, and I know I have the same problem over where I'm teaching. The attendance counts, right? Kids come to school, they learn. They don't come to school, they miss out. But especially right now, that it's cold, they're sick, there's so many kids with the flu. I was researching in our board policy about attendance because I wasn't too familiar with the attendance policy that we have. And I was looking at it, how it says that the students are allowed, of course, we all know a doctor's note, but then I was seeing also something about parents' notes. And I remember when I was young, my mom would, make me a little note, take it to the office when I was out sick. Does that still count if kids are absent because their stomach hurts, something? I know, like right now, my daughter's sick. I went to CVS, I got her a test for the COVID or flu A, flu B, and she tested positive for the flu, right? So I didn't have to take her to the doctor.
Right.
If I didn't have insurance, I probably wouldn't have. I would have just left her at home and had her rest. But luckily we do. But for the people who don't have the resources to go to a doctor, who don't have insurance, who give their kids medicine, from Las Flores or from home, or have them tough it out. But because all these things are now available at pharmacies, the COVID test, the flu test, are parents allowed to write a note and is this an excused absence for schools?
So yes, parents can write notes for an excused absence. And I think we've had this discussion before where we've mentioned an excused absence just means that our students have a valid reason for missing school, right? That doesn't mean we can erase the absence. It just means there's a valid reason. So if parents can give us a valid reason, a note that we can corroborate that it is coming from the parent, then yes, it's an excused absence. The difference is an excused absence gives our students the opportunity to make up the work. An unexcused absence means that we do not have to allow the student to make up the work. Again, our teachers are very good from all levels about trying to work with our students because, again, we do encourage student success, but again, that is the big reason. But again, we do try to work with that, but again, it's valid. That's what we have to make sure. We can corroborate it's a valid reason for our boys and girls to miss school.
Okay, and I'll add more to it once we get into the superintendent's report about ADA and all that. I'm going to piggyback over this later. But I want you to know, is attendance affecting the scores that we're seeing here in the fourth grade reading benchmark?
So no, I think we've kind of zeroed in on some of the factors that we honestly strongly believe it's still a tier 1. This year is basically our year 1 of full implementation of our SAVAS, right? Curriculum. We still have pockets of where teachers felt comfortable with other resources, right? As they had after COVID, teachers, we were introduced a lot of other resources that we kind of did away with those HQIM. So we have restructured that. We are reevaluating all of that as the adoption year for the LR curriculum is coming up as well. So we are trying to address those gaps that those adopted materials right before COVID we're still not addressing.
So this is the first year with SAVAS, is that what
It's
you said?
not the first year,
No.
but it's first year full back on full implementation after COVID.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
that'll make a big difference. in
Oh,
the
most
classroom,
definitely.
for sure.
Yes.
And last question. I know that, I'm a reading teacher myself. I know that kids are struggling readers, a lot of them. We have a lot of struggling readers. And I was just doing research, doing some dyslexia screeners with our kids, and a lot of those struggling readers, I'm not saying that they have dyslexia, I'm saying there's a lot of kids who have reading disabilities or difficulties in reading. A lot of them haven't sometimes been evaluated to see is it more that they need. Do we need to monitor them closer to see if it's something else, not just how are we doing with the screenings of the kids who are having these reading difficulties?
So I think the opportunities we have, especially at the early childhood, right, as state mandated for our kinder and our first graders, those have been critical for us to intervene in a timely fashion, right? Especially at an early grade level. Once they have been identified, then Mr. Neil Garza's department is really good about starting to provide services if they are identified with dyslexia. So we actually just had a meeting on that this afternoon because we were looking at our numbers and the needs, right? As we know, we will have to prepare for obviously the students moving up, right, grade level. So definitely, early identification has helped with the intervention put in place.
That's good to know. Thank you so much.
Yes, most definitely.
Is that it, Mrs. Ustaita?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Dr. Jaime?
Yeah, Mrs. Solano, just looking at the scores, what, have you identified what's working, say at Gonzalez and Kleckler in regards to the reading? Have you identified anything, what's working at those campuses that we could utilize at the other
Yes,
campuses?
so I know in conversations with the principals, and the principals are here if they want to chime in, but blended learning, obviously, those opportunities of differentiated instruction, teaching, right, to a student's, level more than anything, and providing those opportunities has definitely helped. It increases, not only student agency, but also engagement in the classroom, attendance, right, all of that. I know Gonzalez, Ms. Garcia does a phenomenal job with PLCs, modeling, planning, and internalization. I will say it, in repeated occasions, when their lesson plans have been internalized, not just a plan, right? It's not just a plan, but we've internalized, we do a better job of delivering instruction in the classroom. And that has played a big role, at Gonzalez and what Ms. Garcia has shared. Literally dissecting what they're going to teach before it's taught, right, with the support.
I can personally say because, she was my assistant principal at Sam Houston, and I learned so much from the modeling, from Dr. Maggie, from the guided, so many things that, modeling does help a lot, so.
Most
that's
definitely.
something.
So we've seen the growth at those campuses. I know Rico's one where, they have implemented and they've seen the growth in scores. So,
Good, thank you.
yes.
Coach Cuellar?
No, I just applaud the effort and the attention that you're putting into the big picture, to help each other be successful. And I think that's going to be the ultimate goal to, reach that point where we're all working well together. Because, I know that not everybody is working with the same playing field. But what's important is that we never stop trying, and that there's nothing wrong with taking from Peter to give to Paul to help our kids be successful. So again, I applaud your efforts and your attention to detail and being on top of what's going on and addressing the concerns that need to be addressed. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our principals do an amazing job.
Thank you, Coach Cuellar. Mr. Ben Castillo?
Yes, sir. I have a couple questions. When was the benchmark taken?
November and December. So it was in windows. We first assessed ELAR and then moved on to the other subjects,
So
by
it's-
2-week windows.
So they tested on things that they've been taught for half a year, right?
Yes, most
So it's kind
definitely.
of like middle of the year data.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, shout out to Gonzalez Elementary again, and Klecker and Memorial. They're doing great, and Sam Houston, all these folks that are getting 4 out of 4 or 3 out of 4. What are we doing for the campuses that, either they haven't met any of the goals or 2 out of the 4 of the goals? Are we pouring more resources into them, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, and campuses have been allotted 3-star mentors as well to help in those areas of challenges or where we see opportunities as well. So they are there to assist additionally, because we understand that we have a population of students that needs more of that one-to-one support.
When is the next benchmark?
So our next benchmarks, they start mid-February. We start again with the ELAR, and we run all the way till mid-March.
Are you guys gonna go intense on the teaching?
Yes, complete shutdown 2, a mock-up. We're right now getting middle of the year data, other data sources to see how it aligns to the actual benchmark 1 scores, and we'll do a comparison too of what's helping and what's not.
So on the Savas, I couldn't understand what you meant. So you said that it's coming up again. So we're going to do an evaluation whether that's the curriculum we want to use moving forward, or?
Most definitely. So when we adopted the ELAR adoptions back in 2019, they were still not addressing all of those COVID needs that were identified from the commissioner and their teams after COVID hit. So even with that, with those adoptions, right, we still have to fill in some of those gaps that are not being addressed, right, for some of those needs.
So that's going to be evaluated this?
2026.
So next school year?
Right, next year, we'll start planning for that.
So
We're
this,
planning right now for math.
okay, so this summer, well, math seems to be doing okay. It's the
Yes.
reading that we need to
Right.
worry about.
Right. We just need to move it across all levels.
Yeah, it's a little bit concerning. I mean, even speaking as a parent and looking at my little girl's report cards, really high on math, kind of average on reading, right? So I wonder, I mean, do we got to do more as parents at home, or is it a curriculum thing, or, and it's
Yes.
kind of correlating.
Yeah.
Do.
And we have added parent resource on our webpage.
Let me get mad at her mom then.
We have added parent resources and links for every grade level and content area with additional support.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Let's advertise that, because I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
That's,
Okay, we'll do that.
yeah, because that's pretty good. Let's see, what else do I got? Oh, I had a question on one of these slides on the benchmark number 1, 2024 results. What does the light green mean?
So really, it goes from darkest, which is, I believe, the high score, to the light green, right? It's kind of like a rank.
Oh, okay, so it's not like compared to last year?
No, no,
It's
no.
not growth or anything like
No.
that? Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, well, thank you. I mean, let's just kind of keep an eye on that reading curriculum, because if something's not working,
Right.
let's see what we could do to
Now, let's talk
put
about
something in there.
the curriculum. When you do reevaluate Sabas, you will have teachers also there to like, yes,
They are
no,
the
maybe
committee.
so. Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, as far as the question on the dyslexia, speaking as a parent, I know MAP does the pre-screening for
Yes.
dyslexia.
That's what we currently have.
And iStation does too, right?
Yes.
That's the one
We
I
had-
use. Do we still
had
have
that as well.
iStation here?
We don't have
Not anymore.
iStation. Well, we have iStation for early childhood. However, we're using MAP as a screener.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo, and thank you, Mrs. Solano. Coach Serna?
Well, yeah, there was something that I noticed on the action steps, on the, I believe it was the ELR? Yeah, was it, yeah. Yeah, I know Region 1, how effective you send representatives to Region 1
Yes, sir.
for updates, or do you send them?
So usually our coordinators will go to Region 1 on a monthly basis to get any updates. Then they'll come back around and turn around trainings to our instructional coaches, and our instructional coaches are then in charge of turning it around at a PLC. And if not, also our coordinators attend the PLCs to help out, roll out PLCs with principals
Okay.
in collaboration with them.
Yeah, that's, who's monitoring that at the campus level? The principals,
The
the
principals,
administrators?
right, the administrative
And how
teams.
effective has it been? Are we getting good results from that, or?
We have gotten positive feedback as of now. Yes,
Good, good.
yes.
I think that was it, and I kind of like chime in on Ms. Sustaita on the needs. If you see an imbalance, or if we need to make sure that because time is of the essence.
sir.
And the test is right around the corner, and the longer we sit on that.
Yes, sir.
So I would just, hit on that
Yes,
as
sir.
well.
Thank you, Coach Serna. Mr. Los Santos?
Well, I think they've done an excellent job asking every single question they possibly can. I just got a few.
Yes.
Curriculum changes. Mathematics and reading, how long have you had the curriculum in place for each content area? And the reason I'm asking is, maybe I want to see if that's a factor, because all of our campuses perform highly. Our staff does a great job in instruction, and their instructional capacities are very high across the whole board, across the district. We see it in our STAR-in results, right? We also want to be strict on benchmarks and monitor those and keep pushing the envelope, because we want to raise that bar. But how long have you had the reading curriculum in place?
What is it, 6 years?
6 years, okay.
6 years.
And then math as well, too?
It's 6 plus, due for that adoption.
All right.
So that it can meet all the high quality.
Nice. So I just wanted to kind of remove that, right?
Yes.
'Cause I was just curious. And the other question I had also is I've seen kind of like a little pattern here, but I know that every time that you have an administrative change at campuses, you have a restructuring, you have a different management style. And usually when you have a principal come in, you're giving them at least a good 3 to 4 year window to see their leadership styles and their changes take place and come to fruition, right?
Yes, sir.
Some people come in and they just keep the system in place. Other people come in, they start moving teachers, moving from content areas, there's a restructuring and adjustment. So in some of the campuses where they're highlighting that they're only hitting 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 4, a lot of those have had a new
Change.
leadership, and I'm assuming possibly restructuring.
Yes.
So could that also be a factor?
Most definitely, and
Okay.
for some new staff.
Right, so, okay, good. Yeah, that way, I just wanted to eliminate that, because
Yes.
there is a window when you start to see
Yes.
the products of all those changes, yeah.
And I think,
Thank you for that.
Yes.
and if I may, Mr. De Los Santos, just to highlight, take a look at Cuellar Middle School, made a lot of implementations this year, starting in June, and they've had a successful first semester. So again, we're very proud of the efforts that Cuellar Middle School has put in at this point.
Great job. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
I just want to echo what everybody say. I don't think I have to repeat it. But for the schools that are doing well, I think it's very important, and I've always said it before, we need to share ideas with the other campuses. Our goal by the end of the year is for every campus to do well. You know, yes, you're going to have those times in between, but being an ex-coach, at halftime, you see what you're doing and what you need to do, and see what objectives students are weak on. And I believe you all do that.
Yes.
You know, but also ask the principals, like Mrs. Sustaita mentioned, Mrs. Garcia over at Gonzalez at Sam Houston and Memorial. What is it that they do on certain objectives and to do better? And of course at Margot also, you know, so there's ideas that we can share. Because at the end, they're not gonna say a particular school. They're gonna say Weslaco ISD scored here. So I think it's very important that you share ideas and work together and move forward from there. And if any of the schools need any resources, Dr. Rivera will provide the resources, and of course, your administrative team will provide whatever resources that they need so they can be successful.
And Mr. Nieto, before you move on, you say resources, Lone Star Governance, LSG is about the board do the inputs, and you guys are in charge of the outcomes. But before we move on, I'm looking at special ed, and they're at a 7%. What kind of inputs or resources can us as the board offer, or what can we do there? Because this is one of the toughest things. Special ed is it's hard, you know, to teach, and so. Do they need more people? Do they need more resources, like curriculum? What do we need to do to make that 7% grow?
So I know, Ms. Sustaita, with Dr. Rivera, you know, generosity, we meet with special education department every week, and we address first personnel needs, because we understand that population needs that care and more individualized attention, right? So we make sure that we take care of that. In addition to that, you know, thank you all. Dr. Rivera brought to you all the sensory rooms for elementaries. Those are actually being installed this month, so that is going to be great help, you know, for our population of students as well. But know that anything, Mr. Neo, and I believe he's here, right? But Neo strongly advocates, along with the principals, they know to reach out whenever there is a need. But do understand that personnel is always one, right? But we address immediately, right? They have all the support they need, and we continue to monitor that population. But again, it's gonna come back. I just wanna reemphasize this. Tier 1 instruction. So we see a gap in our overall all student population, that we're going to see that play a role in our sub-pops.
Can you explain for anybody watching what is Tier 1 instruction?
Our main curriculum, right? Addressing the TEKS, right, with fidelity. So that is through our adoptions, adoptions, right, in every content area. So if we do that well, right, then our population should be up to par, right, and then we address.
Okay.
Mr. Nieto, if I can just make a final comment as well. On your action steps, continue monitoring, support SABA's implementation, Tier 1 instruction. But I mean, is there also, you guys are still evaluating if SABA's is the way to go, right?
Right, so we're addressing and identifying gaps, right, for this school year and the next school year before we make a final recommendation on, obviously, a new adoption.
Okay, so we're planning to have SABA's for this school year and next school year as well?
Right.
Remember, inputs. The inputs don't work, don't be afraid to change
Right.
it.
I had one more question. Now, it just popped into my head. And it's because I was looking at Mr. Buttermer, and I got reminded about something somebody told me. You were the topic of conversation. When you're, it was good. When you were a principal, I was discussing reading, right? So we're looking at reading, and I know that in other districts we had started to do a audit on reading. How much actual time in the classroom are kids actually reading? Like, not on software, not doing rotations, not going through labs, but how much time is actually spent in the classroom where they're picking up a novel, they're looking at all the major components, the different genres, like the things that I remember I used to do when I came to the school district. You know, we had reports, and we had to go back, and it was work that the student was responsible to do at the different grade levels as the rigor increased with the TEKS, right? So my question is, we know we have a reading problem across the state. And I know that we keep implementing and changing the design and the structure of the classroom. We're adding, okay, you have to put them on this, you have to rotate them through this software for 15, 20 minutes out of your class, and you got to put them on this, and you got to put them on that. But at the end of the day, I call it like the complexity of education. We're putting so much into a classroom that is very basic. Reading's been around, I mean, the first textbook in reading was like 1862, I think, or something that was published. So why is it difficult now that we have students in classrooms and in schools that they don't have the same level of grammar, they don't have the same level of writing, they can't do cursive if you ask them. So if you look at those basic facts that we had decades back and we're more technologically advanced, have you guys seen and assessed whether we're hurting the classroom by taking away actual minutes of actual reading? Like, did you do surveys? Because I know that, I'm sorry, Mr. Buttermer, they told me, I was talking to somebody about this, and they said, hey, you know who used to have a break that it was like, I forgot what they told me you called it.
Well, there'd be either independent reading time or drop everything and read, deer time.
Drop everything and read. Yes, exactly. And so that the entire campus would stop and there was a window where kids were reading. And so have you looked at, because I know I'm at another district and I've said we need to look at the actual time frame rather than rotating consistently and working independently, which is really hard. If you ask these kids to stay focused, for them to independently work and rotate through, I don't know how your structure is, but stations, how long are they going to be focused and how high quality is that?
Right.
So like in the reading area, have you guys looked at that for
Yes.
odd teen minutes?
Yes, so we have campuses that already do that.
Okay.
Buildings, and last year we started the work of minimizing those resources so that we can focus on
Right.
that tier one.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of important information, especially talking about students. You know, and that's one of the focus that we need to be on every time that we have a board meeting, focus on students. Will you go to the slide where you had the percentages, Mrs. Solano? No, not that one, the next one. Yes, is this, yes. On the next meeting, will you highlight the mastery level, any school that's 20% or higher? No, that's one thing that I always look at, mastery level.
Yes, sir.
Because if you get more students to be in the mastery level, then of course you're going to get more students in approaches and
Yes.
meets. So, and there's several schools already in 20% or higher.
Yes, sir.
So will you highlight that in green and then for the next board meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right? Dr. Rivera?
Good questions and good answers, and that's our goal.
All right.
And now that you say that, something keeps popping up. As teachers, we're very like, oh, these kids are very, they don't need me. They're okay. I'm honestly going to say I'm guilty of not paying as much attention to them because they're already doing so well. All my attention is going to the kids who are struggling. But it's good to also recognize that these kids who are at a higher level need that recognition and attention. It's hard to give it to them when you feel like you're doing fine. But it's good to see that also. So that's a good point you made. Thank you.
And of course, like Mrs. Sustaita mentioned, those that are in meets that are, say, 87 through 89, they can eventually be in the mastery level. So, a lot of times that's why I would like to see more students in the mastery level, not at the beginning of the year, but by April, by March, they should be already in mastery level. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue.
Thank you, Mr. Nancy.
All right, continue with 9B. Discussion of possible action for the Board of Trustees to consider approval of the Lone Star Governance Board Monitoring Report for January 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Sustaita, second by Dr. Jaime, to approve the Lone Star Governance Board Monitoring Report for January 2025. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Rivera.
Yes, Mr. Nancy. Let's start. I've got 12 slides. We'll start on page 1. Exactly what you talked about. Everything now is on core values. In my report, all of this impacts the improving student outcomes, such as HR, maintenance and operation, school leadership, student support, business and finance, and then Lone Star governance. So everything that I report every month is based on the core values, again, of student success and student outcomes. I'll start with the enrollment. On page 2, you can see the enrollment comparing last year, the semester, to this semester. And I'll read these. Sam Houston is a in one semester is a +3, Silva a +52, Gonzalez a -52, Margot a +23, Airport a -10, Memorial a +26, Northbridge a +25, Rico a -31, Kleckler Held a -56, Ibarra a +3, Mary Hogue a -75, Cuellar a +21, Central a -12, Big Arza a -30, the new dropout prevention program a +41 students that were dropouts, and now we're going to hopefully graduate all of them. South Palm a -9, East High School a -50, Weslaco High a +14. Now, if you look to the left, these are possible enrollment implications for next year. We will have to look and study the legislature. They're considering, and they will probably approve the vouchers. So if that happens, then districts might lose enrollment. We're also looking on B, on the online virtual schools, where students who reside in one district enroll in another. So for example, I mentioned last month, someone that lives in San Antonio could enroll in Houston ISD. Houston ISD gets the credit. So this is something new developing throughout the state. And we won't know the effect for next year until August or September. But regardless, we still are studying the enrollment. We're looking at eventually, possibly, to purchase land at future meetings. We're studying the transfers to make sure that those that reside in one district, if someone lives in that district, the attendance zone, that hopefully we can enroll them. So we're studying everything. So nothing is off the table. So that's the enrollment. So compared to last year, we're at a -107. So this concerns me. We're a -107. On page 3, so even though the enrollment is down, I want to commend on the bottom, I want to commend our principals, our staff. Diana Garza's involved with on the absences, the parents, the SASSY program, where students that are absent, they can come back and recapture the instruction, the attendance, and we monitor daily the ADA. Every week, every day, we monitor this. So if you can look at the budget, we set the budget this year at $14,500. I'm with the help of all staff. You can see the first 6 weeks, we surpassed that, 14,768. Second 6 weeks, 14,766. Third 6 weeks, 14,724. So we're above 233. So even though the enrollment is down, the ADA is up. And then we have the SASSY. The SASSY program, again, is where you recapture instruction and the attendance. So if the school year ended right now, for the first semester, we'd receive almost $4.2 million additional money for the school district. So again, I'm going to commend our principals and staff, everyone involved, because they work very hard on the ADA. It's going to be a challenge for the second semester. You can see the cold weather and different things that are happening, so we'll continue to report to you as how we're doing. On page 4, this is the ADA, what we budgeted, and the actual amount. In 2023, the budget was set very high at 15.7. I was not here then, but the actual amount was 13.8. So because of this, we had the deficit and we had to eventually make it up. So in 24, we budgeted where it was supposed to be 14,000, and we came out to 14,522, so we received additional monies. For 25, we budgeted 14.5, and right now, as of the third 6 weeks, we're above that, 14,724 at the end of the third of the semester. So, but for next year, in 26, I'm going to be a little cautious. So instead of going higher, I might go increase a little, because again, of the factors we talked about, the virtual schools, and then we talked about the online, the vouchers. So I'm going to be careful not to budget too high, or not too low. And this is, again, we won't know very much of this until September. And again, by having quality schools on Part B, having quality instruction, great facilities, safe schools, programs that meet the needs of all students, schools that are student and parent friendly. Hopefully, our kids can stay with us and not go elsewhere. On page 5, I've done this a few times. This is the fund balance as of January 2025 with updated costs. You can see on A that we have in our fund balance 65 million. But the 3-month reserve that we don't touch is approximately 43 million. So some districts have 2 months. We have the 3 months. This is for emergency. So we have available for one-time expenses. This is not the bond election, 22 million. So some of these we've added, some are new, but you can see that we're studying the electric gates. We're going to get some library furniture, classroom furniture, the additional cost for the HVAC that we had talked about, that was reduced. We're looking at gym bleachers at Central and Big Garza, Barbie Field bleachers, the band practice areas that you approved last month. This is new, water fountains and with canopies, and then district-wide vehicles. So all of this is 11 million. And so in spite of, if we spend all of this, we still have $10 million left, not counting the 3 months. So, and again, the budget cycle starts again this year. We're going to go ahead and look at money remaining, the property values, the interest income, just different things. So even though we have 10 million on D, when the budget cycle starts again, we should increase another $7 or $8 million. The last bullet here, most Region 1 schools use fund balance to balance their budget. We use the fund balance, to improve facilities. On page 6, again, we discussed this before, but there's some that are new here and some that are, we've taken some out. These are on page 6. These are projects funded through fund balance and not the bond election. We've done all of this, and the additional monies that we spent already, and you can see some of these we've done before, the stadium lighting, the fire alarms, the scoreboards, our 4 activity buses, yellow buses, some vans, the chairlift at the stadium, the Panther Wildcat Field turf replacement, the aquatic pool. Very proud of the Weslaco ISD softball, and you've seen them already. They're already in operation. The digital billboard, the HVAC, field stations, and playground equipment. So we've done all of this, not using bond monies, but using monies that we accumulate through fund balance. On page,
I was
yes.
going to ask you, but I can wait till the end, or do you want me to ask you right now?
At the end, when I finish all of it.
Will do.
On page 7, these are on tonight's consent agenda. These are projects. These are projects from the bonds, and previously you had authorized us to do the rankings. So all of these are competitive sealed proposals, and then the method of construction using the following engineers. So all of these 9 that are here are under consent. When we get to the agenda, you might want to pull some of these or discuss them. If you want to do it after I finish, or you want to do it on the agenda, kind of leave it up to you. But staff and I, Mr. Americo, we kind of spread the engineers around and the architects so that we don't use them all. We do different ones. Eventually, someday, some month, you may want to come back and look and interview the architects again and the engineers again, see if you want to add more or take some off. On page 8, very important, safe schools to me. That's very, very important. You can see that fights, I mentioned last month that fights have been there forever. When I was in school, when you were in school, always been fights. Whenever you have students, you're going to have fights. But the key here is to reduce the fights and not have any fight, have a few number of fights so that our students and parents can feel the kids are safe. You can see Big Garza. Comparing last fall to this fall, they were at a minus 75%. Excellent. And Dr. Cuellar also minus 28. Central, minus 40% less fights than last year. Weslaco High, 26. Weslaco East, almost half. And then the only one that was a little above here was Mary Hogue, but we're working with the principal and the staff. So again, this is very important. We monitor this every single week. And again, there's consequences for the ones that break the rules. If you want to fight, there are going to be consequences. On page 9, business and finance, we've already started the 25, 26, 26 budget. Right now, we're on track. We looked at, it's been 6 months of the budget, 6 months to go. Right now, we're on track to have a balanced budget and have, with revenues and expenditures, and have some money left over. On the 26 budget, we're working again to make sure that we have the instructional, the technology, the furniture, the competitive raises for our staff. We're looking to continue with the Christmas incentive bonus and the stipends and then the facilities. So all these are important as we look at the 25-26 budget. HR, we changed them, at your request, we changed the meetings to from the Tuesday, I think it was, to the third Monday of the month. And then I mentioned this back in September, that there are about 15 staff members that are on permits. We gave them a year to correct the permits, so they know, they've been told. So the goal is to have them certified by May, or there will be changes in their assignment for next year. Mr. Solano mentioned the sensory rooms, very good feedback on these. You're welcome to come see them at the elementary. We're working on the middle schools now, so this is an A++. Everyone loves these sensory rooms. And the last slide that I have is give you information. Mr. Solano mentioned information earlier about what we're doing with the curriculum. Well, we're working on the SAT and ACT. The goal here is to have these kids from elementary to the middle schools to when they get to high school to prepare them. You can see that we have review sessions, after-school tutorials, Saturday boot camps. We just provide so much to these students, and we pay for the test, so the kids don't have to pay for the test. So we stress the SAT and ACT a lot, and again, we want our kids to score high, so when they leave here, they can go to any university or college that they seek. This is my report, 12 slides.
Thank you,
So I'll have any questions that you might want to ask on any of these 12 slides.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. I'll begin with Mr. De Los Santos. Any questions on the presentation by Dr. Rivera?
Yes, on the budget.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, on the budget, I just wanted to kind of state to the public that the attendance. I know I hear sometimes we're talking about attendance. You know, Mr. Staita brought it up as well too about excuses. It's clear that like through, yeah, and I know, for instance, because my kids are at the high school, and I know that they're also at the middle school. But even when they're in elementary, parents can submit excused attendance. And I'm just talking strictly about grades and makeup work. They can have an excused absence, but they're still going to be docked for them not showing up. And I see comments, and we just got to, I guess, keep pushing with our community that kids need to be in school. That's the whole purpose. They need to be in school. They can't be at home, and whatever the case may be, unless they have some kind of medical conditions and whatnot, I understand. But on the general end, you have people that are repetitive offenders of being absent, truancy, right? You have your principals, their team. We saw that we have Ms. Diana Garza and others all working on that. And so what I wanted to do is just reinforce that when they, I don't know what process they have at this district. I know we have our own different ones, I've kind of heard. But that they get supported by the board and also by the superintendent, that when they need to talk to parents and be factual with them, that they can, you know, because sometimes I know, because I've been there, where you're talking to some parents and they're kind of, you know, there's some pushback, or in other words, feel comfortable to say, this is why your child needs to be here, and they haven't been here, and why aren't they here? Like, and then if those parents call to central office, hey, they came knocking on my door, they came to visit at my house, or they called me on the phone, why they bother me, that we don't call the principals and then say, hey, back off, or maybe you're being too aggressive. No, kids need to be in school. That's the most important thing, you know, out there that we have in our whole society. So that's kind of one of the things I've always pushed, is that I think, and I'm sure the board agrees with me, that the superintendent also, you know, I'm not saying you don't, but that we give them 100% support to say what they need to say, you know, professionally and on a professional level, especially with those parents that are with those students that are chronically truant, okay? That's one of the things I wanted to bring up about that.
Coach Serna?
Yeah, actually, I do have a few things, I guess more directed towards our athletic fields, Coach Rodriguez. The season's ongoing, how are we doing on those fields? I drove by Weslaco High, and I noticed the fence is not up, and are they practicing right now, 100%?
Yes, Coach. So baseball started Friday. They won't be able to get on the field. And today, well, weather permitting, right? So all 4 programs can get on the field and practice. And it's safe. The fence is not completely up, but at Weslaco High, it's almost completely done.
Because that's a safety hazard. running in. I saw the poles. I'd hate, just coaches need to be careful with the fly balls going out there. I'd hate for a kid to run into one of those.
Yeah, they're restricted to go all the way to the outfield. They're just staying in the infield working the more
Good
infield
deal.
drills.
But all fields are 100%, beside the fence?
Well,
The turf.
Yes.
the turf is up, with the exception of East. East, we still need some more work on the turf, but the other three are they can get on.
Are they practicing somewhere, do you know? I mean, right now, the weather obviously inside, but
East went to the city parks on Friday, and Weslaco High was able to practice on the field.
is there a reason why that company dropped the ball there? Or were they scheduled to finish or what?
I'll let Domenico.
No, so they're, Coach, they're a little bit delayed because of the process. So part of it is the electrical they had to deal with. It's not identical fields that they have the electrical structure underneath on the ground, and they had to relocate and so forth. So things like that where the unknowns and the underground lines and utilities and so forth, they had to deal with.
Softball field is
Yes, so the softball field is ready. It's the baseball field that they're working through.
How long-
And again,
do you
because of sewer
anticipate-
lines and all that.
Do you anticipate how far along?
Yeah, so they're trying to finish by next week, and we're monitoring that.
Can I piggyback off of him real quick? You said underground utilities was kind of a delay?
Yeah, so that's part of it, among other things. So, for example, we have a sewer line that we had to relocate over there. So things like that keep adding to the additional work that needs to be done.
But they didn't do a survey prior, like to construction? Like,
Yes.
you know how you do a utility survey sometimes? You can ask like for
Yes.
underground. I'm just saying, because if we did it, that we could start doing it where they'll identify power lines, water lines, sewage.
Right.
And then that way, before you even start construction, like we know that's the area that's gonna be worked on.
Yeah,
They do a
so,
preset
so,
survey.
so one of the things that happened was
Inspection.
that they were
You were-
trying to leave those utilities there in
Oh, in
place,
place.
and then they saw that it wasn't
wouldn't
gonna
be able to
work
work
out,
around
yeah.
them.
To try to get it done a lot faster, but they saw it wasn't gonna work out, they didn't wanna leave them under
And that
the,
problem did not exist over at High, right?
it was minimal, it was a lot less, yeah.
Well, the only thing is, right now, the fence, I saw the fence and I saw the poles and, kids running out there, just make sure the coaches are monitoring
Yeah,
that.
and again, it's just different construction. For example, over at East, we ran into an issue where we had to relocate a sewer line that goes to the concessions. And that was running right through left field, in the corner of left field, so we had to relocate that and so forth. That, we didn't have it.
Are they able to work in this condition, the climate right now, the way it is, the weather?
Right now, they stopped, and they said they were working on the outfield fence, but they stopped because they said they started seeing some sleet type of weather and so forth, so they should be back on Wednesday.
That's tough on Weslaco East baseball.
Yes.
Because,
Yes, sir.
they've got to be practicing. And they're going to prepare for a turf field, but they're practicing on grass.
Correct. Yeah, we're on them. We'll be monitoring the progress.
Yeah, Coach, the weather, it
Yeah.
really, we can't do anything about the weather, so that's kind of set us
Yeah.
back for a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that it, or you still?
No, there was a couple more.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just safety and security, I noticed the numbers are down, and that's a great thing, the not the bullying, but the fights. Is there anything the principals are doing that can attribute to that? I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit of, I know B. Garza had the lowest or the biggest gains, right? Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, just, supervision is key, making sure our staff is walking our students, making sure that they're out there for transitions, morning duty, after school duty, and then just ensuring that, that we get any reports of any concerns, and that we can do restorative practices before anything takes place.
Well, those are big gains. Good. And of course, Central también, 40. Heck, yeah. Supervision is big.
And the counseling part before the fight takes place.
Right.
You try to meet with the students and put the fire out.
I had a question.
And consequences, they know they're in a fight,
Oh, you come
they're
back?
going to be disciplined.
Yeah, and, well, I guess that was good, but also on the sensory rooms, all elementaries are getting that?
Yes.
All right, good.
Is it-
And on the ACT testing, I know that's big. Can, Ms. Morales, I know you're here, content coordinators, ma'am, was one of the things, provide target content specific When is the ACT coming? In March, and the test is in March, later that, or when is the test date? I'm just curious. I should look it up. Prior to spring break. And the boot camps, and I know I was there before, and I know we've done them, but who's responsible for getting the word out to where kids are out there and, and who's monitoring how many kids show up? I'm just curious, because, we spend a lot of money on the ACT test per student and the SAT, and just want to make sure that we get as many students out there involved to practice for that test.
We have our counselors and our teachers, we create flyers, we have morning announcements, social media, our English teachers, we try to get as much word out in that testing.
Okay. Good questions, Chris.
No,
Our test is March 26th.
March 26th. Yes, okay, I was curious about that.
Mr.
I want to
Trustee?
make sure we're prepared for that,
No
because that's
problem.
important.
That's good questions. When we're talking about students, those are good questions. Mr. Castillo?
Yes, sir, just a couple questions. Doc, on your enrollment report, I know it shows that we're missing, we're less 107 students, but the city is approving plats 2 or 3 neighborhoods every board meeting, every commission meeting. Are we, you said about possibly buying land or whatnot, but are we looking into, some of these elementaries, like Margot's over 1,000, Memorial's over 1,000, Collector's pretty close to 1,000. Are we looking at how are we going to help those elementaries that are, and middle schools, Mary Hoag's pretty high, Central's pretty high, that are at capacity, and then all these neighborhoods are coming into town?
We talked about this on Wednesday of last week, and again, we're looking at the transfers. We're looking maybe at rezoning. There's a lot of things that we're looking at, but we won't be able to know until the vouchers take place. So we won't know exactly until September, but we are looking ahead. We're looking to purchase land. That's part of what we're going to be looking at. There's schools at Horton, for example, is not being used. That's one that we can demolish and build an elementary school. If for some reason we need to go back to Louis Black or Roosevelt, so we've got several things that we're looking at. But the key is going to be what happens in September with the vouchers and then the virtual schools. We are looking, yes.
Okay. Kind of piggybacking off of that, as you have on here is online virtual schools as possible enrollment implications. Is it possible that maybe we could look into one of those or partnering with one of those for our career and what do we call it? College and Career Development Center, our 18 to 26-year-old program? That might be, a way to kind of leverage what's out there already and still help our own students that are in those kind of special programs that we have. I know some districts are looking into that as well. Let's see. On page 5, Doc, at Weslaco High, up next to the baseball and softball fields, there's like a pool that's empty. Are we looking at that?
We discussed this. We're gonna get that demolished completely, and we're gonna get a wrought iron fence in front of the fields. Right now it's a hurricane wrought iron, so we're looking at that.
Awesome.
To improve that one, get rid of that pool.
And then I just got 3 more, sir. And then as far as on our fund balance deal on the projects on page 5, we're still moving forward with the ag barn, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's bond election, though.
Okay.
That was a bond election.
Okay, just wondering on that one. And then,
It's good to highlight that's an extra as well, too.
Yes.
and then as far as on that one as well, I see on the electric gates, it still says pending.
Yeah, we're still looking at it.
Okay.
Coming up with a plan.
Okay, and then, maybe potentially looking at how the enrollment comes around, maybe we could look at a potential maybe expansion of the libraries in those campuses, libraries and cafeterias at those elementary campuses where we do have high enrollment. 'Cause I know some of them are very tight when they have their events there. And then on page 8, man, B. Garza, that's amazing. The reduction in the fights, Central Middle School, Weslaco East, all of them, it's awesome. You know, and then let's just make sure that we give Mary Hogue the support that they need to
Yes.
kind of get them to that place as well.
Yes.
That's all I got, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Coach Grant?
In light of this voucher thing, you know, we've already got students that go to the other sector. Those institutions don't offer what our schools offer. Yet, we send, no, we don't send anybody, but when those students go somewhere else, they want to be allowed to come and participate in extracurricular activities in our school. Do we still have in place the adage that if we're not good enough for you academically, then we're not good enough for you for anything else?
Coach Reggie, we're doing that. You know, you're going somewhere else, you're not going to play here, ball over here.
What's the question again, Coach, Mr. Cuellar?
The ones that go somewhere else, like another school.
I know that it used to be that you had to be a full-time student in our schools to participate in extracurricular activities.
Correct, we still have that.
Whatever it is.
We still have it.
You need to be a full-time student enrolled here with Weslaco in order to participate in our programs.
Yes.
Because that's what they need to understand, you know. You can't have your cake and eat it too, you know.
Just for clarification, that's just a normal policy unless it's changed by the school board, correct?
Yeah, that's policy right there. Now,
Policy, yeah.
I know homeschool came into effect, but we decided not to accept homeschool
Right.
students to participate in our programs.
Okay. Oh, yeah. He's right.
Coach Grant? That's it? Dr. Jaime?
No, you know, good job in being proactive and thinking ahead with the vouchers and the virtual schools, you know, and I think bottom line, you know, what's going to keep our students at WISD is those scores like we're going over earlier with those academics and, you know, whatever ways we can utilize those extra funds that we have to, you know, focus on our academics and making sure we get those A's and B's and I think that'll just in itself just keep our students in-house there. So great job in thinking ahead and you know, let's just make sure that we, you know, think outside the box also and see how we can, you know, make sure we can continue to grow and move forward on that aspect there because I think, you know, parents see high quality education and they're definitely not going to be looking around to go elsewhere. So,
On target.
but good job. Good job.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaime. Mrs. Sustaita?
Yes, I have a few. Some of them have already been answered, but just to bring this up, I'm looking at the projects also, and something that came up into my mind. I go by Weslaco East a lot because my kids are playing there at the field, and at night the parking lot lights it's really dark out there. Have we looked into lighting it up at any point in time?
Yeah, so I will be following up and make sure that some of these circuits have not been cut because of the work that was done around the fields, the baseball and softball fields, because of that relocation of the lighting. But I can follow up
Yeah,
for
that would be good. We have a lot of teenage drivers driving out at night, you know, after games or practices or whatever, and it's dark out there. So that's much appreciated if you can do that, sir. And then I also wrote down, because I said I was going to talk about it, the attendance clarification. And I was looking through the policy, and I'm looking at ADA. For attendance counting purposes, for funding purposes, the policy that we have, and it's legal policy, so everybody has it. I think I have it right here. And it says here that, no, I took a picture of it. Let me see. A principal or a teacher or some administrator on campus can decide whether a student can be excused or not, right? And if the principal or superintendent or teacher decides, yes, that is an excusable absence because you were sick or because of this or that, it's excused. Now that it's excused, that counts as funding, right, for that day for the child. It's not counted against them for funding. This is the way I'm understanding in policy. Correct me if I'm wrong, because that's the way it says it in policy.
If they're absent, we can't count them.
No, okay, because then I'm reading it wrong, because I'm reading the handbook from TEA, the Texas Education Code 25.087A, and it says here, excused absences, and these absences are counted as FSP. So is this wrong, or am I not understanding it right? Or can we look into it maybe to clarify?
It's a differentiation between excused for work purposes but not for funding purposes.
Okay.
So typically, when we have a doctor's excuse or then we'll give them credit for that, and that we can submit as credit before a certain time.
That's attendance for credit.
Yes.
This is attendance for funding.
Funding.
It's the same, it's
Yeah, so
different.
if they're absent, like Dr. Rivera said, we can get a note from the parent, excuse, we can work with them on the work if it's determined.
Okay.
But it won't count for funding.
Okay, that's where my confusion is, because it's very confusing the way you read it in policy.
If I could please just share with you, so from the SAW, the Student Accounting Attendance Handbook, 3.6.3, requirements for a student to be considered present for FSP funding purposes. For official attendance accounting purposes, excused and unexcused absences do not exist. Students present at the official attendance taking time are counted present for funding purposes. That's basically the two parts we need to know. There is no difference between funding between excused and unexcused. Student must be seated at the official time, and for Weslaco ISD, it's 10:15 a.m.
Unless the student is participating in an activity that meets the conditions set out in subsection I or J of the section, unless a student is enrolled. So, but it gives you unless they're doing this, religious holiday, military, blah, 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 but it also lists physician on there.
We'll get clarification.
Yes,
We can.
that's what I was gonna tell you. Look into it so you can clarify for us also, because I do see that listed on there under unless they are here and not seated, they can still get. So that's my question. Let's clarify to see if.
Mr. Buttermer, quick question. So a student that goes to the doctor, but school ends at 3:30, but they get there at 3, for funding purposes, they're counted present as, because of the
I
doctor's
believe if
correct?
they come back in, yes, at the
Before or
attendance time.
after, it says.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have that leeway when they bring back that doctor's excuse to give credit, because that's something we can always defend.
Yeah,
When we have
Right.
and I believe that's something that parents need to know, because even if they go to the doctors or dental and say they didn't go to school, if they can make it for 30 minutes, 15 minutes,
Yes,
correct?
those are
to
things
bring
I
the
didn't know.
documentation.
Correct.
Then we can work with them on that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that as a parent either. When I
Yes.
was reading this, I said, I wish
Okay.
more parents knew so we can actually do something about our kids getting to school instead of, oh, well, they're at the doctor.
Like in the district I work at, cutoff period, the one you just announced
Right.
right now, they usually try to tell parents, you're gonna go to the dentist, doctor, make sure you take them out of school after this time,
Right.
after this window.
right.
But
But
yeah,
then
you have to let
again,
them know.
We also have, we have parents who, and the kids are sick, they have the flu, and they're still there at school, and then what happens? A whole bunch of other kids get sick because we sent them to school like you wanted. So it's a double-edged sword, you know? That's why I'm saying, like, is there a way, let's clarify to see, okay, your child is sick, you took him to the doctor, you're excused, his excuse, do we get funding for that or not? Because I also don't want to force, I see it a lot on, social media, well, they just want the money, they just want the kids there. Well, no, as a parent, I understand, like, sometimes kids can't make it. But if there's ways where we can help out and explain to parents how it works, because even us as a board, we're confused as to how it works. That would help out probably. And then one more thing. The sensory rooms, I'm looking at the picture, I think that's awesome. But my question is flexible seating. I know the sensory rooms, they're only for like certain classes, or who's going to be using this?
All students who can benefit from this sensory room.
Oh, okay, but it's not like part of the integrated everyday experience at school?
No. So all campuses assigned a separate classroom in their building so that all students can benefit from this area.
And can you explain, like, when will the kids be sent to these classrooms, or like when they're going through emotional problems?
Right. Most definitely,
Mental health.
it depends on the circumstances, right? So definitely, because there's soothing, calming, right, for hyperactivity and such. So the sensory room plays or has different needs, meets different needs. But most campuses have already identified one classroom so that it's not, some campuses have additionally had purchased items that are embedded in some of their special education needs classrooms as well.
Okay, because I'm thinking like myself, my regular ed classroom that I teach, these flexible seating, the little stools that wiggle or they move around, those help with my kids who have ADHD, who can't sit still, but wobbling around that little stool, helps them, or those little balance balls that they're just like bouncing. They're doing their work, but they're bouncing. And those are things that are in the classroom, the everyday, daily classroom. They don't have to leave their class from learning to go here. So that's what I'm saying. Have we looked into this flexible seating for the teachers?
Dr. Rivera has that as listed as number 3
Okay.
in the fund balance slide, where we're looking at
Oh,
innovative
yeah.
classroom furniture. That's part of that
Awesome.
project.
And only
Yes.
like certain teachers are only, because I know
No,
it's expensive.
we're going district-wide, we're going in phases.
Awesome. Okay, that's good to know.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Rivera, and the board for putting some funds into that, because it really does make a difference in the classroom. And that's it, Mr. Nieto.
Okay. Mark, you had, Mr. Los Santos, you had a question? Oh,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot one more.
go ahead.
We were talking about just the transition of the schools and virtual. And I remember when I was younger, and my husband always tells me, why don't you guys ever think about this? It used to be Sam Houston was like an intermediate school. I think it was fourth, fifth, sixth grade back in the day. And it was just something, out of the box to think about. We closed that down, those intermediate schools. But it was kind of a little transition from elementary to junior high. You had that little middle space. I think it was fourth, fifth, and sixth, or 6, 7, 8. I don't remember anymore. But there was that little, it was a transitional kind of a school.
It was fourth,
Fifth and
fourth,
sixth.
fourth and fifth.
Fifth and sixth, I think.
Fifth and
Was it fifth,
sixth?
sixth?
Yeah, maybe fifth and sixth. Yes, because in junior high, it was 7th and 8th, and then we had the Maryhill Academy was like all freshmen, I remember back in the day. But, just a thought, an idea. I don't know how it would work in the future, having those little intermediate schools
I
where.
think the testing took care of that, right?
It did.
Yes.
So now the way the test is.
Right.
You have 6, 7, 8. 6 leads to 7 and 8. So it's kind of,
Yes.
that was the reason.
Right.
We
Yeah.
went to those intermediate schools.
That's correct. I believe science testing in the 5th grade is when we moved away from the intermediate.
Okay.
Yes.
It's just a thought, in the future, you never know.
Okay.
Things might be
Mr.
different.
Santos, you had one final question, I believe.
I did. I think it was just the attendance.
Okay.
And then I think I was going to piggyback off of Mr. Castillo with the property, and the expansions and whatnot, because it is true. I know we talked about it before in other meetings, and then we talked about it on Wednesday as well. The question I was going to ask is he was bringing up East. I know that before that, the previous administration, we were looking at a land purchase possibly to open up East, because on the on the north side of the campus, it's enclosed. Like when you drive by, there's just an entrance, and then you saw nothing but trees. Now there's a fence. That doesn't belong to WISD, right? We never bought that property?
No, we
That's
didn't.
somebody else, it's private?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to verify, because it's all a new wall being constructed.
All right.
I think the reason was that we could not build anything on the land.
Yeah, it's just going to be like
That
a
was the
practice
reason,
field.
right? The land next to East, the reason we didn't buy that or look into that was because we could not build anything on it.
The easements? On the north side, see? Oh, the drainage, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I recall, we could not build on it because of the way it was.
See, yeah.
The facility.
Right.
Yeah.
When there's an infrastructure in there that, something that underground?
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was a reason.
Because a lot of, and also like going back, you see a lot of fields were turned into commercial development and whatnot, but they still left the drainage under there. I know I ran into that problem one time, and the pipes are still down there, so even if they're not even used, they're still in place. Okay, no, that was it. Thank you.
Okay.
One more thing, sir. I keep remembering things, sorry.
Very
It's
good
about kids, though. It's
very
good,
good
right?
questions. Go
It's
ahead,
minutes for LSG, I hope, about kids. Sir, one more thing. Looking at the data about the enrollment, I see that Silva Elementary went up 52, then we have Northbridge went up 25, the CC Development Center 41. How are we doing with staffing with personnel now that they have more kids? Do we need?
We'll make adjustments.
Okay,
More kids,
so
more teachers.
we don't need to
Less-
add like more,
Less kids, less teachers.
right? So have we addressed what they need?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There are a few
All right.
waivers, but we're working on it.
Right.
Okay.
Very good questions. I have a couple. I know in enrollment, what's your plan, like for those students that leave the district? Do principals follow out as to why they left? Because a lot of times, if we're not providing a service to them and they leave, or can we get information on that?
It's a good idea. I think when they check out, there should be a form as to why they're leaving, are they moving?
Right.
A reason.
Correct.
We can work on that,
All right?
Yes, sir.
as to
And-
why they're leaving.
And
Okay.
when they ask for their records, the principals do, they
Okay.
follow up as to why.
And in attendance, campus initiatives to improve attendance. A I'll have Mrs., can I ask one of the principals? Mr. Garcia, what are some of the campus initiatives that you have for students to attend school? Just off the top of your head.
So what I have in place is something very different. By 8:30, I have a grade level assigned to, for example, I'm at 5th grade's assigned to me. So the teachers will text me, the student is missing, can you call? So we literally call parents right then and there.
Right.
And then incentives for our kids is we gave them like a game day, a play day, a gaming room, video, bring your device. So it's those types of, is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Just to bring
yes,
them in?
yes.
But most importantly, anytime I have parents in front of me for assemblies, I talk to parents off of Facebook, of course, about the importance of their child, my goals for their child, but that their goals have to match my goals.
Okay.
I tell them my goals for your child is to be successful. But if you're not along with me, then I can't do it by myself. So that's been like, that's my message to parents all the time. So I think that helps too.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of what we do on our campus.
Do you have the initiative? I know all middle school, I mean, all schools were uniform, right? Do you use that initiative as, if you come to school, have very good attendance, you'll have a day where you get to wear your choice of clothes? I don't know if you all have that.
No, but you know what helps too is 6 weeks assemblies, we give out medals for perfect attendance.
Okay.
And parents love those, and the trophies at the end of the year too. I haven't done recruiting of choice, but we have other activities for them. And
Okay.
a lot of times the kids will come up with activities, you know, no backpack day, I'm like, sure. I mean, if that's what's gonna bring you in, I'm good for that.
Clackler Hill is the one every week they pass the standard. So she's the one every single week, she's the highest of all the elementaries
On the attendance.
in the attendance.
Great job.
So since you mentioned Clark Hill, Mrs., what are some of the initiatives that you have?
So we do a number of things. We all do a lot of the same things, but one of the things that we like to do a lot, and I have a parent right here so she can attest to that, especially during these cold days that, you know, students rather just stay at home and not come. What we do is during elective classes, we have a fun activity planned for them. So as to not interrupt instruction during the instructional day, during elective classes, we'll have head day, or, you know, a movie, or bring pajamas. So at this point, sorry, Dr. Zeta, we're not really following the dress code, because we want kids to come so long as they're at school, so long as they're warm and they're coming to school. So that right there, today alone, my attendance clerk tells me, had really good attendance in spite of the cold weather today. But before I even tell her, my attendance clerk starts already planning, you know, the different activities that go on for the electives, and then she runs it by me and we get it approved. And you know, having a good attendance clerk is key at my camp.
Thank you. So, okay, so one more question.
In the middle, oh, to her? Oh, to
Yes,
her?
to her.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
One more question since we have you standing up there. So, staff attendance, you know, you want the teachers to be there the majority of the time, you know, because of course they're going to provide the instruction. So what initiatives do you have for teachers? I know you have for students, and that's going to provide money, but for teachers, you know, what initiatives? And again, I know during COVID, we gave them the opportunity just to wear jeans every day. Not that we're, to allow, I don't agree with wearing jeans every day, because you have to be professional. But if Dr. Rivera would approve something like for 2 days out of the week, you know, allow the staff to wear jeans, a person that's an excellent teacher or a very good teacher, regardless what they're wearing, they're gonna do the job, you know? So if Dr. Rivera meets with the principals and come up with some sort of incentive for teachers, or not teachers, staff in general, you know? Now, principals, no. Principals cannot wear jeans. That's a given. But, you know, something like that.
No, absolutely. As far as staff attendance, we have pretty good staff attendance. Jean coupons, they go crazy over jeans.
That's right, because you all, yeah.
You know, anything, they go crazy over that. So something as small as a jean coupon is very successful at any campus, you know.
Okay.
One last item, the secondary schools, South Palm Gardens and Central, those usually are the highest.
Okay.
So can we all, but the 4 middle schools are good, but the highest one is usually, it's Central.
Okay, so.
And South Palm Gardens.
We actually, we stole this idea from a Clicker.
Okay.
Which is what we call a traveling trophy, okay? And it's just the kids know about it and basically just make them go out to Indianapolis and bring it out there. The class has the highest attendance for that week, right around the bat. Because the following week, of course, I make sure that I go in there and make it, and put it on social media out there. We do it all for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And that's very, very, kids look up to that. So that's one of the initiatives that we're doing, and that's what it helps.
Good, thank you. Ms. Tina? No, which,
And we give them ice cream Fridays, which you would think would work, but it's a big deal. Then we have weekly drawings as well on there. We give, I do a lot with the hours, they come in owing a million hours, and that's a big incentive for them. If you're here, you're gonna get your hours chopped off a little bit there and take my day, so, but we do call immediately. 8:20, I'm already, we all call, there's 3 of us that call every day, so you gotta get them there.
thank you. A lot of good initiatives. Dr. Rivera?
Yes, overall, they all do good.
Yes.
Mr. Nieto, I had a question real quick.
One more.
Are you done?
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
I know, because I was looking at Mr. Aguilar, and every time I make that, we've already been here for so many years, that every time I get this face, he looks at me, he's probably thinking like, oh, here he comes. But no, I was thinking about it. I'm just gonna drop it. I'm just gonna, food for thought. We're talking about, and you may be doing it already. But I know you brought up staffing. President Nieto brought up staffing, and so, do we have like a perfect attendance stipend here already in the district? And have we looked at the feasibility fiscally? Because every time you have a teacher out, the teacher uses days still getting paid, and then we have to get subs. And subs are now running at about $180, correct? About 180 every time they're out. So I'm not thinking like a 5,000. I'm not talking about anything like that massive, but there are other districts that do a perfect attendance stipends by semester. And has that been looked at for how fiscally maybe, it may have a positive fiscal impact on our district.
Yeah, we haven't engaged in that study or that comparison yet.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Okay. That's something
We will take a look
I know
at it.
like Progreso does that, but they don't give us a stipend in December or
Right.
May, like here in Weslaco.
Right.
So either
Just an
or,
idea.
if I would give me a perfect attendance or a stipend, I'll take the
Yeah.
the stipend.
Because, and the only reason I say that, because like I said, 100, you have some teachers that are chronically absent, and if they have days saved up, 10, if you do the 10 total for 180 is 2,000. So, and some of them expend them versus maybe $500 or $400 for first semester, $400 second, and then you get those to reduce that cost. And at the end of the day, you'd have, positive attendance and then instruction. Just food for thought. Just gonna drop it.
Good idea.
Sorry, I know it's gonna.
No, it's fine. In Harlingen, we had an attendance incentive.
Right.
By semester, and it was minimal. It was not, thousands of dollars. It was
Right.
Depending, 500 to 1,000.
But yeah, that goes a long
depending.
way.
Okay.
But like the principal said, the motivation, the kids need a motivation. Like, give me something. You want me to work hard? Give me something. And adults are the same. We want a reward for something. So maybe not at the end of the year. Maybe like once a month, an hour lunch, or I don't know, something. That would be good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just want to say thank you to the principals and to the teachers for making your campuses so welcoming. As a parent, I could tell you that it's easy to give in the morning, but my kids want to go to school. They want to go to Fun Friday. They want to do all the things that y'all do at your campuses. So thank y'all. This ADA stuff is because of you. So thank y'all for all your hard work, and say thank you to your teachers, please.
And Mr. Nieto, by the way, thank you to the schools who got us those little goodies
That's what I
at
was
the
gonna say.
end.
Yeah, that's good.
And there's also a video, a really cute video that Kleckler sent us. And I don't know if you guys are we able to play that so everybody could see it or no? It's like 2 minutes.
It was a clicker ace.
Yeah, it was a Kleckler.
Oh, Kleckler Ace.
Yes.
Okay, well,
So, principals, thank you very much that Mrs. Sustaita mentioned.
Yeah.
All the gifts. I know probably some of your teachers and your administrators were involved, so we really appreciate it. All 8 of us, even though Dr. Rivera is not a board member anymore, he still appreciates it. Thank you. So we appreciate it. All right, let's
yes,
continue.
thank you. All right.
All right, let's go to consent agenda. By this time, I believe you all have read the consent agenda items, and I will go one by one to see if any of them need to be discussed. But I think we had since Friday that we we received the information, and in the last couple of board meetings, we've approved whether it was closed bids and approved by the administration. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or no? First, I gotta ask first to see if you have any that you're gonna pull. Mrs. Ustaita, any?
No.
Dr. Jaime?
No, sir.
Coach Cuellar? None. Mr. Castillo?
None.
Mr. Coach Serna?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Mr. De Los Santos?
None, sir.
And
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Los Santos and second by Coach Cuellar to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's continue now. Discussion items, number 12, update on trainings, conferences, events, and consider future agenda items requested by the Board of Trustees. Dr. Rivera, discussion.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
Discussion for the Board of Trustees to select dates to schedule 2 board training workshops.
Yes, one is the Lone Star Governance,
Correct?
and the other one is the training by Region 1 before March 28th.
Correct.
So Yvette will give you all the dates, and you all can select the dates where you want to have these 2 meetings.
Okay.
Mr. Nieto, if I could just make a quick comment.
Okay.
Just so the community knows, we just didn't approve all the consent agenda just blindly. It's part of our governance framework. That's part of these board trainings that we're trying to select. A majority of our meetings have to be on academics and student outcomes.
Correct.
But the administration, I can assure you that the administration does send it to us. I think they actually sent it to us about a week and a half ago.
Correct.
Draft agenda. And the way that these items are worded, it's pretty transparent. It has the vendor that's going to be awarded for the items that are awarding an item. So thank you, Dr. Rivera, for wording them that way, so it makes it easier on us. And just kind of thank you to the rest of the board for following this governance framework. I think it's going to make us better and get us to where we want to be.
Yes.
Just to
Thank
add
you.
something, Mr. Castillo, I know that we have board book now. You know, some of us choose the paper, some of us choose the online. But when a couple of years ago when we got this, we had said we're gonna add the PDFs, you know, be as transparent as we can. I know some are, that contain children's names or information, we won't. But everything else, I think even I was missing some information on board book. So I couldn't access some of the PDFs. Or maybe I didn't read right and it was there. But can we just make sure that we are adding what is available to the public there on board book? So, you know, sometimes I still get calls, well, what is this item about? What is this item about? I said, well, look at it. It's there online. No, there's nothing there. There's no PDF. So let's just, you know, look through that to make sure that whatever we can release, which everything really is public information, other than kids, that we do have it on there because we do get those calls still.
Dr. Rivera.
We'll take a look at it. We'll
Yes,
follow
sir.
up. Mr. Abel, Mr. Butterman, Mr. Lund?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. David, we'll follow up.
Any other, Mr. Los Santos, anything else there?
No, sir.
Mr. Cocherna?
No,
Mr. Castillo? No, sir. No, you're not allowed, Mr. Castillo. Coach Cuellar? Dr. Jaime?
No, sir.
And Jackie, you good. All right. Let's go to, let's see, discussion possible action items. We don't have any. Closed meeting to discuss personnel matters. Discussion regarding superintendent's recommendation of certified personnel and non-contractual personnel. Discussion regarding superintendent's recommendation on resignations, retirement of certified personnel and non-contractual personnel. Deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Consultation with attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offer, or matter in which the duty of the attorney of the Weslaco Independent School District under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding the recommended agreed resolution and action plan as per the Texas Education Agency. All right, so it is 7:22 and we'll go into executive session.
Principals, see you Wednesday.
7:15, Mr. Nieto.
All right, it is 7:40, and we reconvene an open meeting. Item 15A, possible action if necessary on items discussed in closed meeting. 15B, discussion possible action regarding superintendent's recommendation on employment of certified personnel and non-contractual personnel. Dr. Rivera.
Have the list recommending approval?
Move to approve?
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Jaime, second by Mrs. Ustaita. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. 15C, discussion and possible action regarding superintendent's recommendation on resignations, retirement of certified personnel, and non-contractual personnel. Dr. Rivera?
Have the list recommending approval?
Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Jaime, second by Jackie Sustaita. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. 15D, discussion of possible action regarding the recommended agreed resolution and action plan as per the Texas Education Agency. Dr.
I
Rivera.
recommend that we approve, the board approve the resolution and the action plan as per TA.
Do I have? So I have a motion by Coach Cuellar, a second by Mr. Los Santos. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Adjournment. All right, so it's 7:40, 41. 7:41.